Hi Chris, thanks for inviting me on. My name's Sam. I co-host and present Back of the Net, which is an AFC Bournemouth podcast since 2016, but also over the last few years a flourishing YouTube channel as well. We're the fastest growing and #1 Cherries content provider on YouTube, and it's something that we enjoy doing so much. We don't take ourselves seriously. We go to every single game. It's all about the football and documenting the experience of hopefully having a good time. Now this season, we didn't think we'd have that much of a good time covering the Premier League because obviously in the Championship, you wake up every morning and you expect to win every game or at least be competitive. But in the first 4 games of Cherry's season, yes, we had Aston Villa first, but then Liverpool, Arsenal, Manchester City. So it really put the pressure on that first game against Aston Villa. Thankfully, we won it. So look, the media, before the season even began, before a ball was kicked, most of us had us down. I think on Sky Sports, Jamie Carragher was saying it, Gary Neville, BT Sport, a lot of YouTubers had us. Fulham, I think, were in the mix as well. Brentford was another club that was mentioned quite a lot. And most Bournemouth fans would have probably agreed because the style of football that got us promoted wasn't unbelievable. I think we got promoted not because of Scott Parker, but in spite of him, really, because, I don't know, we felt suffocated by his style of play at times, but fair play, he got us up, and his CV, as a result, looked very good, probably enabling him to get the short-lived job at Bruges, hey, but win the first game at Villa, 3 consecutive losses. The 9-0 at Liverpool was terrible. Now, Scott Parker was sacked after that, and the reason that he was sacked was not because of the 9-0, it was because of the manner of his post-match interviews and the way he threw his team under the bus, and he was effectively saying, look, I need help from the board. Little did he know that only a couple of months later we would have an American takeover, which would plunge a lot of finances into the club. Mad saying this, given it's AFC Bournemouth. We are still a small club and we are very wary of our roots. So Gary O'Neill took over and he ground out a number of results, and I think at one stage we were the team that had the longest unbeaten run in the Premier League, and he certainly steadied the ship. When he got the job full time though, after the World Cup, I think a lot of eyebrows were raised when that decision was made. However, we got behind it. Of course you do. Of course you get behind your manager. But the results weren't unbelievable. But we've been treading water for quite a while in the Premier League. And it's always been imperative to get results over the teams in and around us. And largely, we've been doing that. But the inconsistency is huge. I don't think we've won 2 games in a row all season. And we found that we play well one week. We think we've turned a corner. But then we go back to this passive Bournemouth. And we're better, certainly with the new additions that we made in January, by playing more on the front foot, but unfortunately we don't do that in certain games. But if you look at the league table now, we're doing all right. So you got to give Gary O'Neill credit for that. Whether he's the man, whether we stay up or go down, whether he's the man to take us into next season, I think the jury's out. Maybe we're a bit entitled, maybe we expect too much, I'm not too sure. But certainly at the end of the season, if we do stay in the Premier League, either way, we're going to be thanking him. And look, the guy's learning on the job. He's not had a manager's role before. He's been a coach at Liverpool and also with AFC Bournemouth as well, but never really had that first team and especially Premier League experience as well. So fair play to him for that at least. And we're showing some good signs, but we just need to see it more consistently. Now, you said it yourself when we've been speaking off air in terms of that inconsistency, but if you look at it, even if it's win-loss all the way to the end of the season, we'll be all right. On 30 points at the moment, I think it's probably going to be one of the lowest points tallies to stay in the Premier League. I think 2 wins would probably do it for AFC Bournemouth. And now I'm looking at a lot of YouTube videos, and our recent win against Leicester actually gives us a lot of optimism, I've got to say, and especially with some of the winnable games that we've got. We've taken a look at the average league position of our opponents for the rest of the season, and it's about 12th, whereas other teams, for instance Leeds, have got an average position of 7th, and so ours, we've got the best run-ins out of the bottom 8. You could say 9 if you include Palace. I think it's probably 8. In terms of Spurs this season, I think well, it's been largely disappointing from a neutral's perspective, really. You obviously Arsenal are flying. Sorry about that, but there's always been that competitive North London bite. This season, not so much. Yeah, even still, you're still looking at top 4 place. At the expense of who, though? Newcastle flying, Manchester United holding on to that 4th spot. I think it would be great if you do get top 4. And look, you've had a bit of a turbulent time with your managers as well. I think Antonio Conte, I think a lot of people at the start warmed to him quite a lot, but he was always going to leave under a cloud, as he tends to do, and that's exactly what happened. And we're hoping this weekend that Bournemouth can maybe, you know, pick up on the instability at Spurs and maybe smell blood a little bit and perhaps get a result. But as we saw last weekend, despite how well a team plays against you, it may not necessarily go for you. I'm sure the refs have got something to do with that as well. I think you've got a lot of players that obviously on their day are absolutely superb, and when they combine, you've got such a strong, fluid attacking side. Harry Kane, of course, is the fulcrum of all that. Whether he's going to be a Spurs player next season, I don't know. A lot of people sort of talk about the trophies thing, and you know, look, Alan Shearer scored so many goals, and I don't think of him as any better just because he won the Premier League with Blackburn. You could take that away from him and he would still be a goal scoring hero. So will that define Harry Kane? I'm not too sure. In this day and age of social media, I think the pressure's there for him to prove himself. Look, he's done it in an England shirt, we know that, but whether he'll be looking for silverware, albeit cups or domestic leagues and stuff, who knows? I don't even know who he would join. Probably abroad if he was going to, you know, go anywhere, but I don't know. I do still think he'll be a Spurs player. So Bournemouth v Spurs over the years, it's been some entertaining games. We've obviously that 1-0 at Dean Court was huge. You had 9 men at the time, and Nathan Ake marched in the last minute. But largely we've been poor against Spurs. Now I do worry when we play the big 6 because we sort of tend to give them a bit too much respect. And that's what I certainly hope we don't do, because we need the points. You do as well. So playing on the front foot and with us being a counter-attacking side, that could play into our hands a little bit. But it's the quality of our players. Obviously, we have got a quality squad, but sometimes we just we don't tend to show our quality when we play the bigger teams, and that's what I'm worried about. But there are some players that I think would and could do a good job for Spurs if they were to be, you know, for instance, Jefferson Lerma, I think is a quality midfielder. Whether we've got him for the rest of the season, I'm not too sure. I think Philip Billing is attracting a lot of attention as well because of his goals. He's an attacking midfield player. Sometimes he's utilised in the wrong position, but he's absolutely quality. And so those are 2 players that I could see fitting in well into Spurs. And also we've got our attacking wide men as well, but we've got a wealth of talent there. Marcus Tavernier, I think, has been superb for us. So if you're looking for Bournemouth players to sign up, as you alluded to with the questions that have been put to me in this, I think those are probably 3 that you could probably go for. In terms of our predicted lineup, I think we'll be largely unchanged, apart from maybe one position after the Leicester game. So that includes Neto being in goal. Across the back, we'll have Adam Smith, Chris Mephams, Jack Stevens and Lloyd Kelly. A midfield 3 of Jefferson Lerma, Joe Rothwell and Philip Billing. And probably Marcus Tavernier starting out wide with Dango Ouattara on the... Well, I mean, to be honest, they can switch flanks, so whichever flanks they'll be playing on, not too sure. And then the pivot will be Dom Solanke up front, who the goals haven't really come from this season, but his work rate is absolutely phenomenal. Score prediction, look, I've got to be positive. I'm going for a 1-1. Realistically, we're probably going home with no points, but if we do get points, it would be massive for us, and would certainly give a lot of confidence ahead of the next 2 games that we've got, which are both winnable. And if we get results in them, then that's Bournemouth safe. So yeah, looking forward to the game. Thank you so much for having me on, and yeah, do feel free to subscribe to Back of the Net. There's a matchday vlog that's going to be coming out on the Sunday morning, giving a raw account of what happens, and then later on in the week we'll do our away day fan experience video as well, which it pretty much documents everything apart from the game itself, what the fan experience is like in North London, the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, in and around it. not taking into account the football. We'll rate the atmosphere, the pre-match experience, the food and drink, the concourse, the people, all that stuff as well. So yeah, check out Back of the Net. But again, thank you for having me on. Enjoy the game.